We celebrate players who hit the ground running in their professional careers at a young age. But what about the players that took just a little bit longer to find and achieve success? We look at 5 of baseball's greatest players who didn't become stars until after turning 30 years old. Today, on Rounders, a history of baseball in America. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rounders, a history of baseball in America. I am your host, Jeff Lambert. Just a couple announcements before we get into the episode today. I'm really thankful for the feedback that I got and the signups that I got for the newsletter that we started, but I've decided that I'm going to put it on hold for now, and there's a reason for that. I've found with the email newsletters, not only has it been a struggle to keep it up on a consistent basis, it's also been more of a passive way for me to be able to connect with you, and I want a more active way to be able to keep the conversations going with the people that listen to this show. So I'm going to put the newsletter on hold for now until we grow a little bit more and I have a little bit more time to make it worth your while. But one thing I am going to focus on, because it's a simple addition to this show, is I'm going to start releasing a video companion for each episode. So you can follow me on YouTube, and I'll make sure to include the link in the show notes for you to do that. And then you can choose to listen or you can choose to watch. And in the video version, I'll make sure to include some additional photographs or footage of what we're discussing. And if you just want to look at this mug that maybe you've been listening to for the past 2.5 years and see what it looks like, the YouTube channel would be the best way to go. So I'll include that, like I said, for you to be able to sign up for the video as well. And just overall, the goal of this is I want to make it an interactive experience as much as possible. So I think video is going to help us do that. And then I think the other way that I love being able to connect with the people that listen to the show is through social media. So please, if you haven't followed on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, take a moment and sign up. Not only can you interact with the content that I publish, but also I try to respond to every message that you send me, whether it's a comment, a criticism, an additional episode you'd like to see in the future. All that is worthwhile to me, and your feedback keeps this going. Every time I feel like I need to stop or things are too much or anything like that, I always get a message at the right time. Somebody, saying, hey, could you cover this topic? Or we missed the show. Those kind of things, they do mean a lot. The other thing I'm working on in addition to the YouTube channel is I'm working on a website where you'll be able to go and be able to not only access the episode content, maybe send a link to a friend a little bit more easily, but you'll be able to read the episode content. If you choose to consume it that way, you listen to it and you thought some of the information was interesting, you'll be able to find a blog post that's a companion to it and be able to send that information to somebody else or use a snippet of it and something that you're creating on your own. So it'll be there, easily accessible to you. And I'll include a section where you can sign up as a monthly supporter to really help me keep this show going. You can do so right now in the show notes if you so choose. Every subscriber, no matter how much, it means so much to me. I'd like to take a moment and thanks Tom Thomey, who signed up. Is it Tomey? Like Jim Thomey. I'd like to take a moment and thank Tom Thomey for signing up this month as a subscriber. Your support means the world to me. Thank you so much. And overall, like I said, if you have a little extra scratch and you enjoy the show and you'd like to give, this is a great way to support independent sports media and kind of stick it to the out-of-touch corporate sports monopolies out there. There's so many people like me that are doing this because we love sports and we love to cover the topics that we think that you'll find interesting. And the best way to do that is to help us be able to make a living doing it. So overall, follow us on the YouTube channel. Keep a lookout for the website upcoming, and then of course follow on social media. All those things mean so much to me. Thanks for making me a part of your day. That means the most. And let's get into our topic today. We're going to talk about the late bloomers in baseball, the guys that didn't figure it out till after they turned 30, but wow, did they make up for that lost time. Let's get to it. Today's a special episode for me, ladies and gentlemen, because I think it is important to look at the cases of people who played the game of baseball who maybe didn't fit the mold of what we count as kind of the careers of the Hall of Famers or the all-time greats. We think about those people as just being prodigies as soon as they enter the league and continuing this high level of play until they retire. But that's not always the case. And in this situation, we have a good chunk of players who have shown the ability to learn as they grow from playing professional baseball and then figuring it out much later, sometimes over a decade after they started playing in the league. And those players deserve recognition too, because not only did they develop their talent through hard work and practice, they also didn't give up. And for someone who has natural ability, who figures it out right as soon as they come into the league, that's great because they have to sustain that success throughout their career, which is another challenge in particular. But for someone who doesn't find success right away and has to move from city to city and try to be able to keep that dream alive, I think that's a special challenge in itself. And so to look at players who really were able to overcome that initial failure and be able to find success later on in their careers, I think it's important for us to pay attention to how they did that. And there are some commonalities that we're going to look at that I think contributed to some of these players taking a little bit longer. But overall, we're going to look at some individuals who did exactly what we said, who really showed that perseverance and figured it out after the age of 30. So we're going to look at these players in chronological order. And we're going to start off with an individual named Lefty O'Doul. Lefty O'Doul played professional baseball from 1919 to 1934. He was nicknamed the man in the green suit. Now, the reason he earned that nickname was more for what he did after playing baseball than during his career. He was a very successful coach in his post-playing years in the Pacific Coast League, and he also started a restaurant bar in San Francisco, and both of those really led to him getting that nickname because he was known for wearing his fancy green suit to both occasions on a regular basis. So let's go back to Lefty's playing career. He started at 18 years old. He was fresh into the league right at 18, and he signed on with the New York Yankees as a pitcher. He didn't find success right away by any stretch. As a matter of fact, he only lasted with the Yankees less than 2 seasons, and then he found himself bouncing between several different professional leagues. He found a home for a little bit while in the Pacific Coast League with the San Francisco Seals, which he would go on to coach for several years after his playing career was over. And then he also jumped around to other major league teams, but never really stuck anywhere. And this trend kept going until he was 31 years old. So we're talking about 13 years of a middling sort of existence in baseball. And remember, for him to keep up that dream of, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make this happen, that in itself deserves a lot of respect. That is a lot of time to not find success, to be someone who's on the next level. To be a major leaguer and to play in the league, yes, he accomplished that. But I think he always wanted more, and it started to show at the age of 31. So at 31, Lefty made a decision that changed his career for the better. He transitioned from pitcher to outfield, and that became his main position. Now, transitioning to the outfield, while that may not have had an impact on his at-bats, because during this time, especially as a pitcher, he was able to bat on a regular basis, but making that change seems to have really made all the difference, because going into that season in 1929, he just flipped the switch. He led the league with a .398 batting average, a .465 on-base percentage, and he racked up 254 hits. In that season, with that first transition, he was named to the Sporting News' Major League All-Star team, and he finished second in MVP voting. He only lost out to a name we all know, Hall of Famer Rogers Hornsby. And over the next 6 years, he kept a batting average of 300 or higher, and he won 2 additional batting titles. He finished his career with a .349 batting average, a .413 on-base percentage, and an OPS of .945. For 6 years, he played at an incredibly high level offensively. And when he retired in 1935, he had become a household name to most baseball fans during this time. Now, Lefty was never elected to the Hall of Fame, even though he has the highest career batting average of any player who was eligible for enrollment into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He was one of the individuals who was on the ballot several times, and you only get a certain amount of times to be able to come up for vote before you are not able to maintain or stay on that list. And Lefty was one of those guys, unfortunately. But he does have a lasting impact on the league. He was one of the main guys who was responsible for exporting baseball as a professional sport to Japan. Now, we're going to do an episode on him specifically because of his role in spreading baseball internationally. So stay tuned for a future episode on Lefty O'Doul, because we will talk about his impact post-baseball career, even though he certainly was no slouch, especially at the end of his career. Now, why was he a late bloomer? My hypothesis for Lefty's transformation into an offensive powerhouse, I believe that he picked up a lot of knowledge on how to throw to batters over his 13 years of pitching from the mound. And I think that transitioned to making him a better hitter, because he understood how pitchers approached being able to take out batters. I think that he was never able to capitalize on that physically from the mound. He just didn't have the stuff to be able to succeed as a pitcher, but he was able to take that knowledge as a pitcher and transfer it to being a better hitter behind the plate. And so that really seemed to, in my opinion, be the change as to why he was able to find that success later on in life. For our second late bloomer, we are going to go to an individual named Hoyt Wilhelm. Now, Hoyt played professional baseball from 1952 to 1972. His nickname, Old Sarge. He didn't start playing pro baseball, unlike Lefty, until he was 29 years old. So he is the true definition of a late bloomer. Now, why did he not start playing professional ball until he was 29? Several reasons. Number one, he actually fought in the U.S. Army in World War II, saw almost full action through the entire war. So when he got out, he decided that he wanted to pursue a professional career in baseball, and he was already in his mid-20s by that time. So he started off at the bottom rung. He spent 6 seasons in the minors, and